Hi there, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Survive Interviews. Today, I am delighted to be joined by a guy that I found through Twitter. He is a cosplayer and a phenomenal one at that. And I am just so excited to have Josh the Medic here on the show with me. Josh, it's fantastic to have you here.
Oh man, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's really kind of you to do this.
It was amazing because I put out a request because I was saying I want to speak to everybody that I can about this thing we all love called survival horror, and you responded with a tweet showing me some of your cosplays, and I was blown away. Like I'm not exaggerating to say that. Your Claire Redfield cosplays in particular are just amazing. I sent them to a few of my friends, and they were like, "Oh my god, this is fucking amazing."
Oh my god.
So yeah, major kudos. So yeah,
Thank
Josh,
you.
tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do.
Well, my name is Joshua. And I'm a cosplayer. I'm an artist. I'm a huge gamer. And I live in New York City. Huge fan of the Resident Evil franchise, in particular regarding survival horror. And I've been gaming ever since I could remember. So, I mean, I guess that would be the gist, yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I'm similar. Ever since my hands were able to hold a controller, I've been gaming basically. So I empathize. But kind of onto that. So that kind of leads nicely into the next question I have, which is, or the first question I have really. What's the first horror game that you can remember playing like clearly?
Wow. Oh man. I have to say it definitely had to have been Resident Evil 2, the original Resident Evil 2, obviously. And I was 6 years old when I played that.
Oh wow.
Game. Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's not something a 6-year-old should be playing, you know.
I was 14.
Really? Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Wow.
I can't imagine what playing that at 6 was like. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was a little psychopath because I was just so enthralled with that game when I first saw it, and I was handed the controller, and I couldn't help but just notice, I think because up to the point I was used to like Super Nintendo games and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden here comes this game with these amazing pre-rendered backgrounds and these environments and the character models and everything. And if I can remember correctly, I think that Resident Evil was what introduced me to the concept of what zombies were, because up to that point I was just like, what are these shuffling things trying to eat this cop? Like what's going on here? And I just really loved it, it not only was I so kind of like infatuated with the game, but it also at age 6 it helped me. It definitely helped me expand my vocabulary because I learned so much. Like what 6-year-olds should be learning about viruses and all kinds of conspiracies and stuff like that, and I went through that.
Incredibly useful now.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my god. Especially with COVID and everything, But
yes,
yeah,
you had a head start.
Yeah, I guess I did, but yeah, so that was Resident Evil 2 was definitely the first game that first survival horror game that I completed somehow at age 6. I beat that game, all scenarios and everything. So yeah.
You'll probably enjoy this story a little bit in that my daughter's been watching me game for the last while and stuff as well, and she watched me play like Layers of Fear on the PC, and she wanted to play it on the Switch, and and that was fine because Layers of Fear is it's just kind of a walking simulator with some scares. But then she was like, I want to play Resident Evil because I watched, like, you love Resident Evil, so I put on the Resident Evil 2 remake for her, and literally she got killed by the first zombie in the gas station. I was just like, she was literally, she's nearly 9, by the way, and she was like, yeah, I don't want to play this anymore.
Oh my god,
like,
poor thing.
I know, right?
Oh my goodness.
But that's incredible. I always find that I kind of wish in some ways that Resident Evil 2 had been my first. I do and I don't wish it was my first experience with the series, because I think you have the deepest connection to the one you play first. So I have a deep connection to Resident Evil 1 because I like, my favorite character is Jill Valentine, and I just want to say your Jill cosplay was also phenomenal.
Thank you.
But yeah, like, Jill would be like my favorite character, and I mean, I might be being presumptuous here, but I'm going to hazard a guess that Claire Redfield might be one of yours.
I mean, whatever gave you that idea? Like, you know,
you're like, no, it's Chris. Chris is my favorite.
Right? Totally random. No, but yeah, Claire is definitely my favorite video game character of all time. So, yeah.
That's so cool. It's really funny because Claire was a character that I didn't warm to very, like, at the start, but over the years I've gotten, like, really attached to her as a character through seeing her whole journey, not just one piece, and especially the remake. I felt really expanded on her character and added a lot of depth to her and stuff as well. So yeah, I guess, as you said, Claire is like one of your favorite. Well, she's your favorite character, video game character of all time. What is it about Claire Redfield you think it is that draws to her?
Well, I think, you know, she's just such a relatable character. You know, when you come into the franchise and you see characters like Chris and Jill and Leon, you know, like, they're all cops with all kinds of training and stuff like that. But Claire, she's just a regular college student. She's just a regular girl, you know, and here she is, like, surviving all of these nightmarish situations with her wits, and, you know, just some from, you know, training from her brother and everything. And I feel like another aspect to her character was that I really kind of clung to was the fact that, you know, when you look at Claire, she's not like a what you see is what you get kind of character. Like, there's layers there. So, or you see this biker, but, you know, you wouldn't know that she is, like, literally the nanny of the century, because, like, when she finds Sherry, like, she becomes so, like, maternal and protective to her, and you start to see, like, this softer side. I feel like, at least in the original, and that very protective nature is something that I also identify with. You know, being kind and caring, but also, you know, being able to take care of business if necessary, if you catch my drift, you know. And like, and yeah, she's just always been like a favorite of mine for, you know, many aspects, but those ones are the ones that definitely stand out for me, I feel like. But yeah, like, I mean, you said that Jill was your favorite character. Is there anything in particular that makes her your favorite that, you know, really stands out? Or
I'll actually, I will come back to that in a sec. One thing I want to say there is that this is a great conversation because you have actually really made Claire such a better character in my eyes than I ever gave her credit for, just from this tiny little bit of a conversation we've had so far. Because I'm not even joking, I never really took into account that she, out of that first game, the 4 playable characters across those the first 2 games, the 4 playable characters, she's the only one that is not like a spec ops person or a trained. I've never really taken, I mean, I always give Ethan in Resident Evil 7 credit for that I'm like, oh my god, it's so great because he's a nobody. He's just a random guy. Whereas I can't believe that I kind of overlooked for 20 plus years that Claire was that long before Ethan ever came into the picture. So I think that's definitely gonna kind of color my view of Claire moving forward, which is great. I love that these kind of conversations can have that impact. So yeah, and also just to speak on the maternal thing, I do think it's interesting because I do think she's also in the remake. There is definitely the same kind of elements of maternal nature, but what I find what I find in the remake is Annette is so much more horrible than she was in the original. That it makes you feel even more like you're just like, Claire, take that child and get the fuck out of there, seriously. But yeah, sorry.
I totally agree.
To kind of, for me with Jill, I think it was that up until 1997 when I played the first game, I had only ever seen very few female characters in games, first of all, up to that point. I mean, Lara Croft had been the first one to kind of emerge on the scene in like 95, 96, and she was super over-sexualized, and she was on the cover of all these like magazines and stuff. And then what I liked about Jill was she was not that. She was in military gear. She was a badass woman getting the job done. I will say that in that first game, it was kind of, I think, improved upon in the remake, but in the first game, she was treated a little bit as the damsel in distress, that Barry would always come bail you out if needed.
Oh, yeah.
But even still, I just found like she was... I always played Jill over Chris because to me, Chris felt like your kind of action movie stereotype, or like action star stereotype. But I was like, we don't really have... Bar like people like... I don't know, I guess... I'm trying to think of actresses at that time, but like... that would have been that kind of female badass. But yeah, she was my first female badass, I think. That's what it was.
That's awesome. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, honestly. I didn't even think about the fact that, especially at that time, there wasn't a lot of female headlining characters in gaming up to that point. So Jill, not only is she Resident Evil's leading lady, but come to think of it, she's also one of the leading, like, female gaming icons in history. So, I mean, I didn't even think about that. That's pretty awesome. Like,
this is awesome. This is what I love about these conversations. It's great. And we're just talking about stuff we love, and this happens. I just think it's awesome.
Yeah.
You've done... I've seen a couple of your cosplays. I've seen your Claire Redfield. I've seen your Jill. Have you any interest in cosplaying characters from other games or series, or are you very focused on these characters for your cosplays?
Well, no, yeah, I'm definitely interested in cosplaying other characters from like other series and stuff like that. Like, before the world went to
yes.
I was planning on getting started on a Marvel cosplay because I'm a huge Marvel fan, as well as Resident Evil, of course. And I was getting ready to start like a cosplay in that domain, but things happened, so I was like, okay, maybe next year or something. There's I feel like there are other characters in different series that I would like to take a shot at, but I kind of have to keep that under wraps for now because,
of course,
I want it to be a surprise when I kind of just boom debut it. So
amazing. We were having a little conversation on Twitter actually, and we were talking about Heather / Cheryl Mason from Silent Hill 3, and I was like, you do such a good Heather as well. I could see it, and I think you'd kill it.
Well, thank you.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was just gonna say thank you. Like, like I said on Twitter, like maybe I will take a shot at that cosplay, but can't make any promises, but we'll see. But yeah, I really appreciate that.
And then your username is Josh the Medic. So I'm going to go ahead here. I will tell you actually right now as well that you had linked me to an interview that you did, but I didn't want to read it to color. I didn't want it to color this interview, so I was like, I'll read it afterwards.
Okay.
But I'm going to go ahead and presume that your username Josh the Medic comes from your. Are you potentially in that line of work? Are you dealing with viruses and pandemic yourself?
I well, it's a combination of my preferred role when I play games, because I usually am the medic class, and I'm also studying to be a nurse. So yeah, like I'm a med student, so it works out both ways, my gaming preference role and my chosen field, I guess. Like,
and it's all because you played Resident Evil 2 at 6 and you were like, viruses, pandemic, I need to get into medicine. That's how I can save the world.
Yeah, like I want to be able to help people, potentially save lives. So I guess from an early age that was kind of like the plan. And yeah, it's not easy, but I'm hanging in there. Like,
I can imagine. I mean, my wife is a nurse. Well, she works with the elderly in a nursing home. She's a care assistant, and she's been doing that through this whole pandemic. And it's obviously incredibly. I mean, being frontline must be difficult. Must be a lot of. It must be challenging. Being out there facing this stuff kind of every day.
Yeah.
But okay, I was going to ask this a bit down the line, but I think we're going to have to jump to it now, which is that, like, Josh the Medic, and you're out here, you're saving people and healing them. Is there a chance of a Rebecca Chambers cosplay at any point? I'm just saying, just putting it out there.
Oh my god. Oh man, I had never put any thought into a Rebecca cosplay before. I do love her character. I honestly really do, and I feel like she does not get enough credit because in Resident Evil 0, like a lot of people, they say no. As a matter of fact, there was like this poll a while ago that went on Twitter, and it was kind of like okay, which rookie had it the worst in the Resident Evil series? And they put Leon or Rebecca. And, I was like, is that even a question? Like, Leon, he didn't lose anybody. Like, he just came to Raccoon City, saved some kid and some biker girl. Well, no, she saved him. Never mind. But
sure.
And then they leave. And they made it out. But you look at Rebecca and you see that this poor child. Like, she's only 18.
Yeah, she's only 18. Yeah.
Yeah, and she loses her entire team. She has to take on like a tyrant by herself. And like she loses so many members of her team and everything, and it's just so tragic that all of that happened to you, like, as a rookie. So I would definitely say that Rebecca is 10 times more hardcore than Leon, like, by that fact. But like I said, I never really put any thought into a Rebecca cosplay. I have a lot of friends who do cosplay her and who would like to cosplay her. So I kind of try to stay in my own lane, I guess, when it comes to those sort of things. Because it's like, all right, that's your character, like, and I'll do my Clara over here or something. But yeah.
I never really thought about that as well within cosplay circles. That, like, I've seen, obviously there's a lot of cosplayers here in Ireland, and you see when they do events that you will have your Captain America, your Wonder Woman, and I've never really thought about it that, like, these people that cosplay, is there like is it like a dress code thing? And if like, you know, two people turn up as Wonder Woman, it's like obviously I'm not saying all the time, but I'm saying like if it's your close friend and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna be going as Batwoman, and then they arrive and they're Wonder Woman, you're like, hey, you said you were gonna come as fucking Batwoman, okay? Like, why are you doing this to me right now?
Yeah, I've never experienced any kind of clashing of that nature, fortunately. You know, whenever I've gone to cons or whatever, as a matter of fact, one of my friends on Twitter, she goes by Sheena. You know, she's a very popular cosplayer.
I've seen Sheena's stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
she's fantastic.
Really good. She is phenomenal, and I love her to bits. You know, she also cosplays Claire quite often, and she does it so well. Like, it's so good. Yeah, like, you know, like we're really good friends, and you know, what was it, about 2 years ago when I debuted my remake 2 Claire, she was going to this convention here in New York called Anime NYC, and she was like, hey, like, I'm gonna be coming down there, like, you know, do you want to go? Like, you should totally come. And we both cosplayed Claire. Like, she was Code Veronica so awesome. Claire. Yeah, she was Code Veronica Claire, and I was remake 2 Claire, and you know, we took a bunch of photos together. It was such great fun, and you know, I guess with the company that I keep, you know, I've never experienced any kind of hostility in the cosplay community.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for that, because I've heard stories and they're not pretty. So, but yeah.
I have to say, just because you mentioned your remake 2 Claire there, like I think the standout thing, one of the standout things about this cosplay is the jacket. The jacket is phenomenal. It's just so perfect. Like, you look at it and it looks like it's rendered straight out of the game. Like,
oh my god,
100%.
Thank you.
Yes, so that's just, I just had to point that out. And as I say, there's going to be a slideshow going on here of pictures of your cosplays, but like the detail in that jacket is gorgeous. It's absolutely stunning.
Thank you. Yeah, that jacket was a nightmare. Like,
there's stories there.
Oh my god, I think I saved I think I saved the jacket for last, because I knew that would be a pain. I was trying to, I looked online, I was searching like crazy to find something similar to Claire's jacket in the game, and nothing looked similar enough. Like, I just felt like, no, like this one isn't right. Like, I have to get something that looks a lot more identical. And then, you know, my mom's friend, who's a seamstress, my mom, she suggested, she was like, you know, like, she could totally do it. And I was like, you think so? Like, she was like, yeah. So I went out and I bought the material, and I talked to her, and you know, I showed her reference images and everything, and like, when she handed it back to me, I was like, wait, what? Like, this is fucking amazing. Like, oh my god, I was not expecting it to look this good, but thank you, you know. And then came the daunting task of getting that Made in Heaven insignia on the back, and I don't think I've ever had a more nerve-wracking experience in my entire life, because, you know, I'm an artist, you know, so I figured, okay, I haven't really painted something before, but if I'm going to do this, I don't want to send this to some random person and they screw it up, you know, because this jacket is so perfect, you know, and it costs a lot of money. So, like, I don't want anybody to screw up. So it's just like, all right, you know what? I think I will do this myself. You know, I will take a whack at painting, and I will do this myself. That way, if I screw it up, that's on me. You know, like, so
you're the only one responsible. Yeah,
exactly. So I had to do it, and it was with permanent paint, so it was the most horrifying experience ever. But I was so glad when it was done, and I honestly never want to do anything like that again. Like, it was that traumatic, but yeah, so that was the story behind the jacket.
That's incredible. I did not realize that you had done like the Med in Heaven thing yourself. That's so cool. Because that's such a obviously that is such an iconic thing of that design is the Med in Heaven. But yeah, and also actually your art is amazing, and we will be featuring that here on the channel as well because
oh my.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that.
And I guess I'm moving into some of the more I guess trickier questions to some extent, which is like you were saying that generally in the circles that you've been in that like it's been wonderful and warm and that's great. But do you ever find that you like because as a kind of as a gay black man cosplaying a female character, do you find that you ever get negativity from people? I mean, we live in the online world, so I'm sure you probably do because this world is sick and twisted online sometimes. But
yeah,
like when you're at convention at cons or anything like that, do you find that you've ever received hostility or negativity?
Not at cons. Definitely not at cons because people aren't really. They aren't really hostile at cons. It like the negativity primarily comes from like online because in this day and age, like the anonymity that the internet provides people, like it's just kind of like an open window for ridicule and negative comments and stuff like that. But and that goes back to when I started cosplaying in the year 2012, and I like because there's not really much representation, it kind of sucks,
yes,
for like the main cast of Resident Evil. It's like, damn it, like I really would like to cosplay a character, but nobody looks like me, or I don't look like anybody like in this series, like who would I cosplay? Like Marvin or something? He dies in like the first 20 minutes of the game. So it's like, I don't want to cosplay him. So I thought about it and I was just like, all right, well, look, my favorite character is Claire Redfield. So guess what? I'm going to cosplay Claire Redfield.
That is so awesome.
Thank you.
Make your own. Yeah. I love that. Taking the character in, like not just as, not just saying, oh, well, I'm going to cosplay this person because I look like him. No, I'm cosplaying this person because this is the person that I identify with and relate with. That's so cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it, like I said earlier, like Claire, like she is such a big part of like my life, and like her character and everything that she's stood for and everything. It's so important to me. So I just decided, like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna cosplay Claire. But then also comes that point where you have to mentally prepare yourself. You have to like literally sit down with yourself and say like, okay, you look absolutely nothing like this character, and people are probably not gonna be too kind about that fact, and you just have to kind of like prepare yourself, like I said, for the potential negativity and the hostility and the racist comments and homophobic or anything like that. And, and that was what I prepared myself for, because it's like, all right, if I'm going to put myself out there, and especially online, you have to be ready for that, and I took it all, I took those negative comments and, and it just kind of fueled me to want to do it even more. And I couldn't allow the negative things to kind of bring me down. And before I knew it, somehow, some way, like I had like other men, who would message me and say like, hey Josh, like I loved your Claire. I've always wanted to like cosplay like Jill or something, but
Yeah.
you know, I was afraid of like what people might say, or you know, I don't know how to get it started or whatever. And then I would get more messages from people of different fandoms, like, oh, like, do you think I should do a Lara cosplay? Like, I love Lara Croft, and I'm just like, wait, what? How did I become some guru for like cosplaying?
Is so cool.
Like, you know. And then before I knew it, I started to feel like Katniss Everdeen or something, you know. And I was just like, okay, like. So yeah, you know, it was great that people liked it that much, that they were able to see me in that light. I truly do wish that there will be some reality or a future where you know, if somebody of a different ethnicity or different gender wants to cosplay a character that they love to death, that they don't have to have that conversation with themselves that I had to, you know, which was to prepare yourself. You know, in a perfect world, that would be the case, but sadly, it isn't. So, you know, for anybody who wanted to get into cosplay, I would say just to do it for you, like, and just do it for yourself. And if people like it, that's a bonus. You know, like, that's a plus. But at the end of the day,
100%.
Yeah, you know, like, at the end of the day, just do it for you. Do it so that when you put on that costume and you look at yourself in the mirror and you're just like, damn, I look fucking badass. You know, like, it's such a good feeling. Like, you know, and it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter what gender or race or whatever. You know, just do it for you so that you can say that you did that. You know, and yeah, so that's my experience, I guess.
It's such an incredible incredible kind of message to send out, because even, I mean, obviously I am not a cosplayer yet. I don't know if I ever will. There's a few I'd like to tackle down the line if I ever kind of get over the line and do it. I'd love to do a Carlos cosplay.
Nice.
Big time. He's again one of my favorite characters, so that would be amazing. But one thing I just love what you said there, which is do it for you, and that is my favorite statement in the entire world. It's why I'm doing the channel that I've started, is because I make movies. That's my job normally, is I make independent films, but I'm always waiting on funding, or I'm always waiting on producers, or I'm always waiting on somebody else to kind of say, here is your worth and here is how much it is, and this is how much we value you. That, like, with the channel, it was like, this is something I can do for me. I don't have to answer to anybody. I can just feel good about myself doing this, championing the things that I love. And yeah, so I just think that message of do it for you is so important, and it's awesome to hear you say it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I appreciate that it resonates with you, and you know, because it's really, at the end of the day, like, we all just want to be happy, you know, and if this is what makes you happy, then, and you're not hurting anyone, then why not? You know, just go for it. Like, that's my philosophy, I guess.
But one thing I will say, actually, that just popped into my head, is that I do think that obviously we live in a world where, like, there are these kind of, I guess, people view things differently. It's something I just don't understand, which is that there's such a, it's just weird to me that, like, or you see a lot of, you know, female Iron Man, and I think people are a lot more accepting when it goes that way. And I just don't, I guess it's just whatever is wrong with society at the moment, or, you know, for the last God knows how long, is that it just, this is acceptable and this isn't. And it's just, it's one of those things that kind of, I just don't quite, because as you said, if you're dressing up as your favorite character, it's nobody, like, it's for you, it's not, you know. But I like that. I think it's awesome that you embrace that, and that you just decided to just go with it. And as you say, it's now kind of, you're like the Jill Valentine of cosplayers, because you're like the first badass cosplayer crossing over genders.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I appreciate that. I like I said, I never set out for that. I was just doing what I wanted to do, you know, because
Yeah.
after a while, after you face so much negativity, you know, from like different internet trolls and everything, it's like, okay, wait a second. Like, you know, like, do you pay the bills up in my fucking house? Like, no.
I love
Like,
it.
okay, well, guess what? I'm doing this shit, you know, because I bust my ass to make this happen, you know, and if you don't like
Exactly.
it, you can block me or you can go somewhere, but I'm going to keep doing this, you know, and you can stay mad over there, you know. Thankfully, though, you know, the love for my cosplays and, you know, everything else that I do, it's always trumped the hate, you know, and the negativity, you know. So for like every troll, there's like, you know, 50 people who are just like, you look awesome. Like, how did you do
so
that?
good.
You know? Yeah. So it always, you know, it's so like gratifying to be able to, you know, like inspire some other cosplayers, you know, and to be able to help out other cosplayers, because sometimes people are just like, holy crap, your item that you got, like your equipment, like where did you get that from? Like, could you tell me, you know? And I'm more than happy to help and, you know, assist other people. And, you know, like my dream kind of came true, because when I cosplayed Claire, you know, my favorite voice actress for Claire, Alison Court, you know, the legend.
Oh, Alison's awesome. She's amazing.
Yeah, she saw it, and her words verbatim was, "You look fucking awesome," and I was so floored by that. Like, it made my life. I was so happy. Like, it was everything. And you know, I've had Capcom members, you know, kind of like praise my cosplays and stuff like that, and I'm just, you know, I'm still stuck in that mindset. Yeah, thanks. Like, I'm stuck in that mindset where it's like, wait, you guys actually don't mind that I'm a dude cosplaying like you know, but they're just like so kind and warm and welcoming, and you know, they're always just so positive when I, you know, put out content and cosplays and stuff like that. So, you know, it's really, like, I really appreciate it all around.
It's so true. Like, I mean, the second I saw it, the first response I said back to you was, "This is straight fire," like, because it was just so. It was everything. It was the cosplay, it was the pose, it was the photography. It just sold this, like, you were Claire Redfield. You are Claire Redfield in that photo. Like,
Oh my God.
as you say, it's not a, it's not about. Yes, Claire is a white woman, but like, what I love is you embodied Claire Redfield, like what Claire Redfield is in your cosplays, much more than, as you say, it can kind of, if it can show us that, I can look at that picture and say, yeah, that's Claire Redfield. That, you know, I think we're at a point where, as you say, there can be more representation and more diverse characters within these games.
Yeah.
I would fundamentally agree with you there. I do think that they made some good strides with the way they've reapproached characters, with from, you know, in the remakes. I do think, in particular, in the 3 remake, they gave Tyrell Patrick such a better character.
Oh, yeah.
Than like, he had nothing to do in the original, which kind of broke my heart at the time. And then he's such a great, Sterling Suleiman voices him in the new game, and he does such a great job of making him like an empathetic character. You actually care about what he's going through, and you actually get to know a bit more and understand, you know, what he's doing there. So
Yeah.
I do think, hopefully, we are building towards that, what you were talking about, which is, you know, more representation in these games. I think that would make a lot of people happy. It will also make a lot of trolls upset, but that'd be great. I'd be okay.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna get a lot of comments, you know, if they were to make a new Resident Evil game and then like the main character turned out to be like Latino or black or something. They'd be like, oh, what's this forced diversity, or, you know, the SJWs, or the go woke,
Yeah.
go broke, you know, nonsense. And oh my God, it's like, it's exhausting. But yeah,
it would probably happen even if they just made a standalone game now with Carlos as the lead. They'd just be like, what the hell? This is just like, you're just trying to fulfill your quote. And it's like, you do realize that he was in like another game in this series, right? You're
right?
aware
It's
of this.
like, just say that you're racist and go somewhere, you know?
It's like, well, what's
Oh
the
my
Sheena
God.
standalone game about? Like, seriously, a Shiva standalone game.
Oh my God.
Yeah, as you say, it's like people can't understand that. Yes, there have been these characters, but there's never been a leading character. I mean,
Yeah.
Shiva but she's still a partner character. She's never treated as the main character of that game. It's very much Chris Redfield's big battle with Wesker is the main focus.
Yeah.
But it was still nice to see some representation appearing within the franchise.
Yeah.
So, the next question is kind of coming up to my last one, and I'm sorry about this, but
Oh God.
you know, I've done this to the guy that wrote the book on, wrote a book on Resident Evil. It's coming out in August. It's all about the making of the first game, and I asked him this same question. You have to rank the series. And now this is your own personal. This is subjective,
God.
not objective. Okay. So,
Oh my God.
and if you haven't played anything or you don't want to mention them, you can leave them out. But just for yourself, how would you kind of rate your? I think we know what your favorite is, but anyway, I'll let you speak for yourself.
Oh man. That is a very tough one. Surprisingly, the Resident Evil game that I started off with, which would be Resident Evil 2, that is a close second for me. Actually, my favorite Resident Evil is actually Code Veronica, and I
very
completely, yeah, I'm obsessed with that game. I love it so much, but.
Give us a remake.
As far as ranking the series, oh God, oh man. As far as like ranking the series goes, that's a tough one. Oh my God.
While you're thinking, while you're thinking, I'll throw out mine just to help you out.
Yes, please.
My number one is Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, the original game, from '99. My number two would be the remake of Resident Evil 1, which I just think is phenomenal. Three would be the Resident Evil 2 remake, because as I say, I didn't really, whatever it was about when Resident Evil 2 came out, I didn't connect it all that much, but I think it was just whatever about when Resident Evil 2 remake came along, it opened my eyes to a lot of stuff I maybe missed out. And I've gained a big appreciation of the original from playing it. Yeah. And then 7 would actually come after that, because I think 7 was such a great turnaround for the series and just doing something so different.
Oh my God. Like, you're gonna get lynched for saying that.
Oh, look, I'm the person that I gave Resident Evil 6 a positive review when it came out back when I was a reviewer, and I got people saying, "How much are Capcom paying you to write this?" And I'm like, "Nothing. This is just. I don't think it's terrible. I think it's not great, but I don't think it's terrible."
Yeah, but I'm definitely with you regarding Resident Evil 7. So we're both totally gonna get lynched for this, but like I love Resident Evil 7. Being, I feel like it definitely brought it back to the horror aspect, and I loved it for that.
But yeah, I fundamentally agree with everything you're saying about 7. Because I think, but what annoys me is when I see people who hate on 7 and say how terrible it is because it starts out as a self-contained story, but then they praise 4, and I'm like, but that's exactly what 4 was.
Thank you. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. I felt like I've been the only person up until now who said this. So to hear somebody else say this, it's just kind of like, oh my God, this is overwhelming. Thank you so much. Oh my God.
No worries. It's just, there's a lot. There's a lot of that within this community, it seems, where there is like, I hate that game, but I love this game. But you do realize they're very similar, right? It's like the one people
Yeah.
that say I loved 4, but I hated 5 and 6. I'm like, but like they're not. Other than the actual stories within them, they're not drastically different. Like they're very
Yeah.
similar, and things like that. I think that people have their favorites, and that's always going to happen. And like we have our favorites and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it's always. I think Resident Evil is one franchise where I would say that like I don't feel like there's an entry that I would say is just like absolute garbage. Like I really think that nearly every entry does something, whether it's something that I particularly like or isn't always the case, but it always tries to do something different.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just close this out by just asking, where can people keep up with you? Like what? I'll drop links in the description as well, but like on your Twitter and anywhere else that they can support you.
Oh, well, I'm mainly on Twitter, at Josh the Medic, and, I'm also on Instagram. I'm not as active there, but, I'm like primarily on Twitter, and Josh the Medic is also my name on Instagram, but there's just underscores in between Josh
Okay.
the Medic, and I also stream sometimes too, same as my Instagram name, and Twitch, obviously twitch.tv, Josh the Medic. And yeah, I'm just regular friendly guy who cosplays, talks about Resident Evil, draws occasionally, all that stuff. And I feel that what I try to do the most, especially on my Twitter, is because I know how divisive some of the fan base can be sometimes, and
of course, yeah,
and sometimes there is toxicity, which is just inevitable, and it's inevitable because when there's a fan base of a game that's been going on for over 20 years, like a series, you have people of different backgrounds, different temperaments, some may have started later than others, and on my Twitter, what I try to do, because I talk about Resident Evil a lot, is I try to make everyone feel welcomed and validated.
Of
like
course,
even if we don't agree, like I don't do the arguing like, oh, your opinion is garbage. No, like I'm not about that. Like and it's just kind of like a safe space for everyone. And that's basically what I try to do on my Twitter. So yeah, that's primarily where you can find me on Twitter at Josh the Medic. So
that is so cool to hear you say as well, because that's definitely the exact same thing for me here with this channel. Is I am the person who always says that's your opinion, you were fully entitled to it, and like I will never. I've always said this: the worst thing you can ever try to do with somebody who has an opinion, like. There's a difference between having an opinion that's just wrong. Like when somebody says my opinion and it's like something absolutely horrendously racist or homophobic, it's like, no, that's not an opinion. That's hatred. That's different.
Yeah.
But like when somebody says like Resident Evil 4 is garbage or whatever, I'll be like, okay, look, if there's something that tells me that this person will never be swayed from that opinion. Like, and that's just whatever it is in their life has drawn them to this decision that Resident Evil 4 is bad. You just have to say, okay, well, what Resident Evil games do you like? Let's chat about those. Let's keep it on the positive here. Let's talk about the good stuff. So I totally understand. The most divisive reactions I've gotten on this channel so far came from a Resident Evil 4 remake opinion piece I did, where I just talked about what I'd like to see from a Resident Evil 4 remake. And so many people were like, no, don't remake it, you'll destroy it, or yeah, just remake it, but just update the graphics. And then like my whole point was like, if you're gonna remake it, do something wildly different with it for the crack, because we've already got Resident Evil 4, it exists, so let's do something totally different. So yeah, very divisive.
I can imagine. I'm surprised you didn't get death threats, because I know how volatile those fans can be sometimes, but
There were some on Reddit. There were some on Reddit.
Oh God,
yeah.
I'm so sorry. I was joking.
No, you're fine. It's people get very passionate about that game, which is again to be kind of applauded in some ways. Like when somebody is that passionate about a piece of media, it's kind of like you can be like, Jesus, you're overreacting about this, but you can also be like, but damn, they care about it. Like they would. You know, fall on their sword for this, like.
Oh my God. Oh man. Yeah,
I'm also just gonna let you know that you have another follower on Twitch now. I've just followed you there. So I look forward to checking out your streams.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Oh man, I'll follow you back when I get on Twitch or something. Like.
Oh, no worries, no problem at all. No, I've been following. I don't know if you have. I presume you have as well. Actually, maybe I don't know. I've been following Nikki Lee Tompkins, she was the voice of Jill in Resident Evil 3. She's been doing like Twitch streams every Friday with the cast of the game, and they've been so good and so entertaining. And I know that not Alison Court, Claire's voice actor from Remake. I can't think of her name now because it just immediately Alison Court pops into my head when I think of Claire.
Yeah.
But Claire's voice actor from Remake, her and the voice actor for Leon did a bunch of streams as well, which was also very cool. And it's cool to see. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just gonna say about Jill, Nikki Lee Tompkins. Like she's incredible. Like she is such a sweetheart. Like she is so engaged with the fans, and I felt like she did a phenomenal job as Jill in the remake. I felt like really gave Jill some much needed flavor that she's been lacking for a little while. And
big time.
Like that iconic line, "Bitch can't even swim," is like going down in history. It's like
so good. And also, I've seen so many people saying, "Oh God, she swore too much." I'm like, what the what? Okay, yeah, I forgot she should be a sweet little character who doesn't, and then the lines. But like something that I personally loved about Remake 3 is that they really jumped headfirst into the kind of, I don't know if it was intentional, but it felt it to me. They kind of jumped headfirst into the potential idea of like Nemesis as a metaphor for like stalkers or like men who just will not leave you the fuck alone.
Oh God.
I love that like all her lines are so like some of her best lines are really geared around that, like next time take a fucking hint, or like Carlos saying, like, don't you like that in a man? He's persistent. He won't stop chasing you. Don't you like that in a man? And she's like, no, he's all yours. It just felt like this is the kind of shit that women have to go through when they're in the club and some guy just will not leave them the fuck alone. And he's Nemesis, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I never really saw it that way, but that is certainly a different perspective to look at it from. Like, oh my God.
Josh, I'm going to let you go, but I want to thank you so much for hopping on and doing this with me because, as I say, I just love talking to people about survival horror. I do think it's something that can connect people for across. Like, you're in New York and I'm in a small little village outside of Limerick in Ireland, and we're here chatting about horror. Yeah.
It's so awesome, and I really appreciate you having me on here. Like, I'm so honored and so humbled that you liked my cosplays and my art that much. Like, it really means a lot. It's such a humbling feeling. I don't know what to say. I thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
No problem. I always say one thing to people, which is that the last thing that I will ever be, and this is just being totally truthful, is disingenuous. If I don't like something or if I don't care about something, I just don't talk about it. But if I love stuff and if I'm very passionate about stuff, I will champion it and lift it up and do everything I can. And like when I saw your cosplays, I was like, this is something that I want to champion in some capacity. If I'm able to share it out, if I'm able to talk about it, if I'm able to draw attention to it, because yeah, as I say, if I see something I love, I just want everybody to see it and be like, and share in the joy of it. So thank you for sharing your cosplays with me.
Thank you
and everyone
for liking them.
You didn't share them with me
Yeah.
explicitly. It wasn't just like I made these cosplays exclusively for you, Paddy. No, it's like thank you for sharing them with me and everyone. Oh. Anyhow, thank you so much, Josh. Guys, keep up with Josh on Joshua on Twitter at Josh the Medic, and I will, as I say, put links in the description below. And as always, you guys, let's survive together and peace out.